Good morning. It is 10:35 a.m. It is Sunday morning, so close to being on time. I genuinely was on time, and then I'll explain why I'm late in a minute. But it's 10:35, it is Sunday, and that means it is time for Sunday Club, which is a weekly Ruby on Rails live stream, where each week we do a little bit of Rails coding together. Nothing too stressful. We just take a look around, poke around at an application, see what interests us that day, and we kind of move the application forward a little bit, generally at a fairly glacial pace, and just take a look at different things that will catch our interest along the way. The application that we work on each week is an event registration and ticketing application, and the idea would be is that people could organize their events, and then they could sell tickets or have people register their attendance. And today we have zero follow-up, so we're just going to sort of dive in and do like super gentle. It's been an incredibly long week at my end, so we're just going to be just taking a look at some UI stuff today. I think just making some stuff look a little nicer, maybe some CSS fun. Who knows what we'll do. All right, let's just dive in. No follow-up, no nothing. Let's just get into it over here. All right, so we have a to-do list, which is nothing on it. So we made this list. We had a little planning board, which has a link to, I think, in the YouTube video description for the stream. I think it's in the link to all the videos. So I wanted to sort of make a list of what we might tackle, and we also have this sketch doc, which has a few different kind of bits and bobs that we've been working on. And previously, the reason I sort of wanted to get back to the UI stuff is what we had been doing is sort of mapping our components sketch page. I'm not zooming in on any of these. It doesn't really matter what they are, but we've got some buttons, some headings, some form bits and bobs, just some general start of some design system, very early stuff. We were mapping those to view components in some ways where possible, or mapping CSS to text styles in Sketch. And I'm using Sketch here, and I had actually made a video in the past, the video on the YouTube channel about Figma, and sort of coming at it as someone who hadn't used I'd used Figma at work a little bit, but not really tried to really pick it up myself. And I did enjoy it and everything, but Figma recently being acquired by Adobe, I wonder if more people will sort of be interested in Sketch as an alternative, because I know that some people sort of don't want to have like maybe it'll be part of the Creative Cloud subscription, or they'll do something else with it. So I wonder if people won't like that. But Sketch is a great it's an amazing application. I think one of the downsides, I think it's still Mac only. I'm not sure if there's a Sketch for Windows, but I don't think so. But if your team is on Mac, then it's great. And it's not Figma. It is not Figma. So take a look. There's a video in the YouTube channel archive if you're interested in taking a look at the difference between those two. Like a whole stream about it. All right, let's sort of dive into where we got to then. So we didn't move the UI forward in the last time we attempted this, because we got distracted by adding profile photos. So we added Uppy, uppy.io. I keep calling it uppy.js. Is it called uppy.js, or is it just called Uppy? I think it's just called Uppy, so apologies if I kept misnaming it. And that worked. It was great. In the past, we had... Hello in the chat. In the past, we had... taking a look at drop zone. That's in the previous stream. You can kind of check it out. We got Uppy working, and it worked. That's sort of all we have for that. But nothing looked any better. So that whole I think we spent 2 streams basically because these avatars were hard coded to have a background color, and we wanted to have a picture in them. And then we ended up going in typical developer fashion, which is sort of what this stream is for, just going and off on a distraction about having JavaScript uploads and an image uploading library rather than just using a standard file upload button. It works. We did it. It's done. This still looks awful. So we didn't actually solve the core problem of making anything look usable in any way. So let's sort of dive into that a little bit. And we had started with this navbar, which I feel like we have been styling for years at this point, possibly before time began. So we have this idea of let's do it today. We're gonna do that. I'm just deciding on the fly. That's what we're gonna concentrate on. We're gonna get this thing slightly nicer. So we have this idea of a navbar that runs across the top of the site. Pretty common navigation pattern. And we have this idea that is a logo somewhere. There'll be some sort of branding on it. This just gray blob at the moment. I think it says the word logo. Yeah, it says the word logo in it. We've got a user avatar. And then if the user is an admin, if they are part of an and that means that they are associated with an organization. I'm not going to go into the kind of domain modeling size, but there's like an organization membership join table, then they get another little drop down thing here, an avatar, and the idea is the avatar will tell you which organization you are currently representing, but give you a drop down list of your other organizations. And for some reason that always says Z. I don't know why. I can't remember where the Z has come from. Because you can see I'm moving, the slug here is changing. I'm moving between different organizations. Yeah, where did Z come from? So I should just take a quick look at that. So that's something like navbar. Okay, none of those characters are the right characters. Sitenav navbar component. So let's take a look at what's being passed in here. Oh, it's hard coded to Z. I have no idea why that is. I obviously just needed a quick character to put in, and I wanted something that I would know to swap out later, so that I didn't think it was the correct thing. That's why I would have done that. I'm having the brain, whatever path in my brain made me pick Z. That's what I think it was. All right, so that's obviously nonsense. So we want to improve that to make it do anything. We did discuss adding an avatar to an organization as well, but it took like 15-20 minutes to do the user one, so we can come back. We can do that today if we want to, but I'm not too fussed about that because it's just adding the active storage association, adding a page where they can do the upload, adding API, and just redoing a bunch of stuff already done. And so this is the only complex part so far, and like the idea that there's a drop down, there's a little stimulus controller I think for this, like show and hide, and the only complex CSS, it's not complex, is that this moves to fill the whole screen below a certain viewport width, and then above that width it is like a little just a little drop down, which seems fine. We're not using any libraries or anything. We are using Primer, which is a very minimalist kind of GitHub's version of... we're using their CSS library and their ViewComponents library, but we're not really using a lot of it so far. So I'm going to open that again, but I don't think we're going to use much of that today. Because it's sort of more fun to do these things ourselves. And there's previous, if you're interested, there's previous streams where there's like a page for that, right? System, here we go. Where we've looked at like Tailwind and all of those fun things, but we're doing a lot of this ourselves. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have in Sketch. And this is where we had started, right? So this was the idea that there would be this 2 avatar system where there would be a user avatar on top of an organization avatar. And then we slightly moved away from that, but we did get that working with some CSS. So, but when we refactored the view components back into one navbar, we ended up taking that out. But this all looks pretty nice. We can sort of aim towards this styling, so we can have some gray bars to the left. And then there was actually a menu toggle here. I haven't actually got anything to navigate to other than the user settings yet, so we can kind of skip over that menu option for now, but that'll kind of get us around. We then have this page here where we were looking at some marketing style pages, and we were looking at I know Tailwind had some some options around kind of these like reusable chunks for headers and stuff like that. But we knocked up this logo, and I'm sort of just going to take this. I don't think this is correct or anything, but this is where we got to. So it's just going to become, it'll do, like it'll just become the logo for now. So let's get this added, because I think even that alone would add something pretty cool. So do we take these separately maybe and have the wording hidden on mobile? Like that could be something. So actually only the little logo-y thing shows. Because some sites, the logo is the name of the company, and sometimes you have some sort of icon or visual representation of the brand, and then the word, or maybe you only have the visual representation sometimes. So this one I've obviously done both for some reason, and that's like strangely off center. All right, let's just grab this out quickly. So let's grab it as, make it exportable. We're not gonna deal with dark mode right now. I think we can sort of, that might be something, hang on, that might be something interesting to play with. I actually haven't done a huge amount of dark mode stuff. So where's that Notion board gone? Let's make a separate, like, so for that we might want to do logo and any other brand images. So presumably that's stuff like, if you make it an SVG, you could pass in the colors rather than having to have two different assets. That could be pretty cool. And then you could sort of have that work across all of your icons and graphics. That's pretty fun. I really haven't done a lot of dark mode. I know that there are like dark mode my website extensions and things like that, and they'll just put an entire style sheet over the site. But some sites, obviously, you want to have control over the dark mode experience, and that could be pretty cool. Plus accessibility, I guess, like color blindness and things like that are probably an impact there. Let's not worry about that right now. Let's just assume that we are going to take this out as, I'm just going to take it this size. I don't even know anything about sizes for this stuff yet. So we have, where is the new pipeline? So it's app assets images. Does this let you pick a name? No, it just calls it logo. Okay, fine. This one take me to that file. Yes, it does. Okay, great. So we can do, I'm gonna say it's worth putting the, let's do more specific, because I want to know to remake this if it gets changed. So normally I wouldn't put the like the literal dimensions of the image in the logo, but because I'm sort of want to tell myself or future self that that's a very specific instance of the logo, because I don't know, it's not like large or small, or I want to be like, oh, it's this one. So let's grab this out and image tag, and just give it that. Is that all you need? It is not all you need. Is it? It is not. Okay. I have a few of these, but I can't remember what the syntax is. Okay, these are all passing in a active storage representation. Okay. Okay, so I also don't know what is, like, is that in the correct place for our current asset pipeline? So we are using, what makes our images appear. I can't remember what we did on this application. It's not, we took out Webpack and we put in the CSS bundling, JS bundling, that kind of stuff. So with all of those, oh, we have a bunch of these, right? So these are all being called in CSS, but these are all being called in CSS. Oh, wait, whoa. Oh, it's in brand assets. Oh, hang on, that's okay. So maybe it did work, and it's just that Sketch has put it in a subdirectory. Sorry. So when you do export in Sketch, I think it exports out the entire path. So that's this path here from the like subdirectory within Sketch. Okay, so now we can take out images, I think. Maybe it now just worked because images is correct. Great, okay. And we don't want it to be gray anymore. So find this. Cool. And is this, so everything is flex, but I think we want this to be display flex, and I think we want, come on, which one is it? It is it align items or is it justify content? I think it's align items. I think it's this. I think that should put it in the middle there. It does. Okay, great. And that is incredibly fuzzy. So I think we actually wanted it at 2x. So that is appearing, hang on a second. Let's show us what. Yeah, okay, so let's export that at 2x. And then I know it'll be the wrong dimensions, but we won't worry about that too much. And it's this. Oh, that's really annoying. So export doesn't let you export, just picks the image name for you. Oh man. So now I have to go in and move that again. So it's this one here. Oh, whoops, hang on. It's this one here. It is what size? 366 by 68. Okay. 366 by 68. Okay, and we can remove this directory. All right, so we're just doing a little bit of admin. So this one can get swapped out here. So hopefully on Retina displays, this one looks a little bit sharper. Okay, great. And we, if you haven't done it, you can get, if you use Sketch, you can get Sketch when you click export to automatically trigger like a PNG optimizer. There's like scripts for it. So if you have anything, if you are using Figma and you have anything like that in your pipeline, or you're using something else, you can automate that workflow. I wonder if people kind of really enforce their naming in the Sketch like file to really line up with their Rails side. So you could theoretically just like export everything and it would map almost one to one to your assets directory. That'd be pretty cool. All right, so we have a logo that looks a lot nicer than a gray box already. Let's go back to our Sketch. So a couple of, if we're not signed in, and we can do, so again, this is the Firefox containers plugin, which I now use all the time and is great. So you can contain multiple sessions within your browser with little colored tabs. I'm assuming other browsers have this. And do I have a sign out link? I do not. Okay, great. So we want to add that as well. So let's, all right, let's add that to our list so we can cross it off later. import. Oh, we just need this page, don't we? Don't need the rest of it. All right, so we want to be able to sign out. So I think we should be able to sign out here in the user section. So you would click on your user face, and you have details, change password, update email, but I think you should have sign out there. So let's go and do that while we're doing other stuff. And that is in a layout still, I think. That's app, views, layouts, users. All right, so let's replicate this. And what we want to check is, are we calling it sign in? Because if so, it'll be sign out, or are we calling it log in? Because then it will be log out. We just want to keep it consistent. That is in the header. I'm guessing that's in this nav bar. It is sign in and sign up. So this is going to be sign out. And this one is the usual thing that divides. It's actually like it's like a delete path, right? What's the up-to-date thing? Should I just look at the devise docs? Because you're destroying the session, so I think you're making a request with a delete, I think. Or do I look? Have we got the default views? Because they'll be in there, right? So if we go views, devise, sessions, links, login, sign up. Oh, they've mixed theirs. They put login and sign up. I forgot your password. Okay, so maybe do they have one in here? Again. I'm just seeing if they have a sign out link, because I remember it being not a simple link. Mailers. Okay, I don't think so. So let's go. Nope, that's it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Google search. So devise. Rail 7, devise and log out. Quick and dirty way to get the redirection working. Okay. Okay, so... Oh, okay, so this is... So, destroy user session path. I don't know, can't remember whether we're using Turbo or not. So I just want to drop back here and check. With method delete. Okay, so I think this might work, because I'm not sure whether we're using Turbo yet. So let's grab this. Check it in and see if this works. Not this. So we want destroy user session method delete. So we just want this part here. Make this a bit bigger. Okay, so I don't think because I don't think we have a bit bigger too. The sign out has now appeared here, sign out, and it works. Okay, so we now have sign up and sign in on the right hand side. So I think the one thing we want to do on an upcoming stream is kind of get Turbo running so that we break these things really early. Because I think if we now install Turbo, that won't work because of the reason here that I can't remember. But we did this on the previous stream. This is due to the way Turbo interferes with them as it catches the 200 status code. I'd be surprised if there isn't loads of documentation getting that working. Turbo method delete. Okay, fine. Okay, that's all from... That's from 28th of February this year. Okay, so hopefully that's been resolved, but I think we can figure that out either way. But I think we do want to get turbo installed. Maybe that's something we can get to at the end of this. Don't get distracted. Stay on the styling. Okay. So we have sign up and sign in, and they sort of look a bit like that, but just the wrong. They're just the wrong color. Okay, we can come back to that. So in here, is that the only one where we had got? Is that the only one where we? Yeah, I think that's the only one we've built any of these things out. Okay. So let's bring these to life a little bit. So we're keeping them separate. Let's see if we can. I'm sort of debating. We don't need the character on top if your face is there, right? So, or your avatar is there. So for the avatar icon component, we want to change this to be only show this if there's no background image URL. So let's do that quickly. Let's kind of tidy that part up. So the logic will then be if you have an avatar, if you have like a user avatar, we'll use that as the background image for your icon, for your little avatar. And if you don't, then we'll have a colored circle with a character in it. And the character will be the capitalized first letter of your email address, because we don't currently have your name. And then we can change that later, but I just don't think there should be a character there. That should be a bit tidier. Plus that will let us add, do we have, this is components, component. Oh, so that's just a root level component. Okay, well, we haven't worked out a folder structure for that, so it can go in here. And presumably there's some sort of boilerplate we can grab. And then it's render in line. Or a slightly simpler one anywhere. No, okay, we'll do it in parts. We'll just do it in parts. Okay, so I know on the tests, hang on a second. This is the icon component. And on the other ones that we, okay. It's just to save me having to do that every time. Renaming a subject. I think we talked about that before. Like, because it could also be like this, right? Like the implicit use of subject in our spec. Like sometimes in code bases, I then see that sometimes they're using subject, like, but they're setting it specifically because I think you can also in our spec do this. I think we might have touched on this before, and so I think I'm potentially really inconsistent with it, which is probably not ideal. Maybe component is better than that. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure describe class is that useful. It just saves you typing this again, but whatever. And what are the required into that stuff? That's nil, so we don't need that one necessarily, but for these, We don't really care that they're real, of course, because the test isn't testing. Yeah, let's put yeah, that's a good example actually, because here you could put like dummy character, but if it should explode, like if the component should only ever take a character, presumably the component should also check that only one character is being passed in and that the character is valid. Like this goes back to what we were talking about recently about like what's the component's job. Well, if I should only ever show one character and someone tries to pass it more than one character, should it raise? Like what should happen? Maybe we could do that here as well. So we sort of want to say when a background image is available, maybe that's not the right word. Passed in? When there is a background image. Do not show a text character. That's sort of all we really want to say, right? And so for this, we can say, what's the name of this background image URL? Just wrap these to save it going off the screen. I don't think it's that long, but because we're zoomed in quite far. I guess you could do all three of these as kind of lets if you wanted to mess around with them. I don't know if this is good or not. So here we could then do hello in the chat. Hi, I started studying programming and chose Ruby. Sometimes I don't understand anything and for a moment I want to quit, but I hope that I can still do it. They also tell me that it will be harder to find a job than another language. Oh, well, hi, welcome, by the way, hello. Stick with it if you can. I am regularly find that nothing makes sense. That's okay to feel like that. Like, don't panic. It's absolutely okay. There is just a phenomenal volume of information available for you, and you are kind of building up your sense of what you need to know now versus what you need to know now, later when you're learning, and it's really overwhelming, but that will be the same no matter what language you choose to work in. So there is always, programming languages are massive and complex and powerful and hopefully fun, but you can feel overwhelmed. So just acknowledge that that's okay. Don't panic about it or anything like that. In terms of finding a job, I don't think that's the case. There are thousands of companies in the world using hundreds, if not thousands, of different programming languages, right? Like there are still people out there writing all of the languages from the past. If you are a junior and you're looking to get into a company, then you sort of might want to apply somewhere that is using that kind of like the languages that are accepting junior engineers. But once you sort of get into an industry, actually like having the same skills as everyone else can actually devalue you, and having really specific skills can then make you more valuable. But as a junior, that doesn't really help. There's a real trade-off there, which is that when you're starting out, you sort of want to know the thing that everybody knows. And then as you get further on in your career, specialization can actually make you more valuable on the market for certain things. I would say that if you are learning Ruby, I would certainly learn JavaScript alongside Ruby, because there are very few projects that you work on, that I work on personally, work. For example, like we work on backend things a lot, and then we'll have to jump to use JavaScript. So I don't think it has to be one or the other, but keep going. Like I would really encourage it. It's so much fun. Like it's so much fun that this is just a thing I do on a Sunday morning for no particular reason. Like because it's fun. Like I don't know why it is, but it is. So keep going. See, even if you do jump to another language, you'll feel overwhelmed there. That's okay too. Just keep going. It's not like out of your reach or out of your scope. It's just a case of chopping it down into small enough chunks, making the next step, getting stuck, researching, learning, asking for help, and then keep going. Good luck. We'll hopefully support you as much as we can. So let's keep going. Oh, I saw a thing, by the way. If you are learning Ruby, I saw a thing called on like Ruby Weekly. It's called like Ruby Friends or something like that. Ruby Friends. First Ruby friend. Here we go. So this is something I keep meaning to sign up to this. I haven't signed up to this yet, but you can get free Ruby mentorship here. And it says new cohorts are matched at the beginning of every month. Go here. How do I post this? Oh, I don't know how to get to Twitch. It's firstrrubyfriend.org. I'm going to put it in the YouTube video description because I saw this. I'm going to sign up to this. Where is YouTube? There we go. There's loads of great Ruby resources. People who work with Ruby will be able to help you find jobs and things like that. Coaches, mentors, or stuff like that. Sign up for Ruby Weekly. They have jobs listed in there. This Week in Rails is a good one. There's a couple more. Ruby Radar. There's like a list of, like if you Google around, there's like a list of them, and loads of them have jobs in as well. So yeah, sorry, that was what are we doing? Just got off on oh right, we're running a test. Oh yeah, we're doing testing, right? Okay, so we now, oh no, that's the wrong, that one actually do want to be nil. So that one we want to be nil, and so we then bring that down here, but we commit that one. So this one we're saying there is a URL, and that means that I want to say like render inline navbar. I just hard coded the test to Z as well. Amazing. That's okay. You got to do what you got to do on this stream. So render inline component, expect page. Not two. I think you can have two not as well. Actually, I think I like two not. To not have text. Dummy character. So here we can say avatar character. Well, and so here. Okay, so I think this test should fail because I think this component will actually show this character at the moment. So let's run the test. You can hear dogs barking, by the way. That's my Nipper, I think her name is. She likes to let the local dogs know what's up. I don't think she's I'm not sure she lives here all week, so I think she likes to when she's back at the weekends, like to let the local dogs know what's up. Yes, hello in the chat. We are working on some Ruby. All right, so it does have, so the test has failed like we said it should, which is great. That's what we wanted to happen. And now we just want to say, like, go. I'm guessing we could sort of do this in two ways, right? Like we could either do this in the components class. So like I said, I'm still not using view component like I always use the phrase in anger, but I've got to find a better, like in production, I guess. But I'm not using it on any real projects. I only use it on the stream. But I'm desperate to use it on a proper project. But I'm guessing you could sort of do one of two things here. You could either unset this value here if this value was present, or what I want to do is do it here, I guess. So you could do so you could do this, I think. Like, would that test then pass? Yeah, okay, great. So that's oh, I mean, it's not a difficult test. It's like, don't show this character unless this other thing exists. I wonder if in view components you sort of actually want to be, because they're going to get, do they get really complicated? So like, do you want to be incredibly explicit and actually like have an entire like wrapping conditional like that? Like, that's way more code, but is it more explicit to read? Because the test should still pass. It's the same code, right? It does not. Okay, interesting. Oh wait, because I meant blank. Didn't mean present. Yeah, it's sort of okay. That's that one you can just sort of do to taste, I guess. That's fine. But again, let's do the one that I hadn't really considered. I know we said we were going to do UI stuff, but let's not. Let's say that when the avatar character I don't think that's very well worded, but we're just on the so. Oh, let's actually put in a valid one here. So let's just say A, and let's then say here, dummy avatar character. Can we have these like rays? Are they sort of like their own little is that best practice for view component to sort of guide the composer, the people using the components, that they're using them wrong? Or is that just a horrible experience because it should chop it? Okay, so let's describe what's actually happening here. So like, it's a super simple component, right? It is a circle with a face in it. And if I refresh this, the face now no longer has a character over it because the user has added a little user avatar, a little profile photo. If they remove the profile photo, we want a colored circle. And I think the color is hard coded at the moment, but the colored circle with a character in it. And the character is the first letter of their email address. It doesn't matter why, like we don't, whatever. Okay, so let's say that you pass, and the API for this component, this view component, is avatar character, background color, and background image URL. And the logic we've just added is, if there's a background image, don't show the character. Okay, well, what happens if I pass the first name to the avatar character? Should I just take the first? Should this be dot first, which I think is, if it's a string, or is there something where are there like life cycle? do you have to do the setter? Like, do you you have to do like that? That doesn't work if it's passed in here, right? Or does it? Can't remember. So we can do I can't remember the syntax for this. I can't remember any of this. Okay, so it's just there. Length. There we go. It's greater than 1. I don't know if that will then raise. So let's find out. So let's do this, this. I don't think it matters what the test is. Let's just save that and then run the test for line 14. I have no idea what's about to happen, by the way. Okay, so that didn't fail. And what do you... What actually comes out? Does it render the whole thing? I don't think it used that setter, right? Oh, okay. What if, how do you get the text out of that capybara node? Is it .text? These are alphabetical. They're not. As text? Okay. .text. Okay. This is not the fastest mechanism of doing this. Okay, so it has just output it. Okay, so that's not doing it. So we're assigning that there. And what would we do? Add like a... If you put a method in and initialize, will it still... Like it also return the instance, right? Like it won't suddenly return the value of validate. This is a really old post. Yeah, okay. I think I'm... Sorry, I'm just sort of skimming through. Yeah, this isn't something that I do a lot, so I'm just sort of like, oh, why don't I do that? But I'm not sure what the rules are around view component. Like, is... Like, does that test pass if I do... Like, if we move this line of code here? That... Let me set a test, but let's see what that does. Does it raise? Hello in the chat. Yeah, cool. Oh no, wait. No, sorry, I was totally wrong. So that would then be avatar character. Great. So it does raise the errors. Okay. So the thing that we want to happen should happen, but should a view component always try and render on the assumption that the user shouldn't see an error, like a full exception, just because of the author's mistake? So this would work, right? Like, here we could say expect page to have capital. Well, let's do X dummy a character. So this would then be X because it would be the first. Does it capitalize it, or do we expect that to have happened as well? No, we expect that to happen as well. So let's do. If that passes. Okay, so it does. So it's getting. Can we see the X out here? Did I take that out? Oh, I took the puts out here. Okay. All right. Okay, so that all works. Or does have text search within strings? That fails now. Okay, that's not the right thing. So I want to check that it has. Do you then put the test for? It should have that, but not that. Show how best to test that. Again, not using view components on a sort of a battle test. Okay, that shouldn't pass. Oh, now it should pass. No, it shouldn't, because it says to not. What's actually coming out then? Like, what's coming out of that test? Oh, no, it wasn't body. What is it? It was text. So it's all of that. So why isn't to not have text avatar character? Because it's upcased. This test is getting flakier and worse, so this is a bad idea. Okay, this is kind of interesting. We're still not polishing the UI, which is what I wanted to do today, but this is sort of, every time I play around with view component, I'm more and more interested in using it at scale. Let's see what they do. I actually have Primer open by view components. Here we go. Right, here's the GitHub repo. So I want to go and look at some of the view components in here. Oh, wait, are they not in here? Is this just for the docs? Where are the actual docs? Okay. Okay, hang on. I'll just Google it. Primer view components. Cool. Okay. Right, let's see what some of these do. Just got a little tour. It's just going to be mainly docs. Okay, so loads of initialized stuff. And that one. What's going to have loads of logic in it? I'm guessing all of these. Drop down or something. Okay, I feel like I've gone from my version, which is like the simplest view component in the world, to an entire design system's worth of stuff. But they are doing logic in the initializers. Oh, what's call? Does call let you override the render? For view components? So if we go, we can just put something out. So we can say, let's just see in our test if we, oh no, because we are now, yeah, we should still get that out. No, that doesn't come out. Okay, so they're obviously calling call on it. Okay. Okay, I think the default action there is to do nothing. And actually do that. That, I mean, at least there's a test for it. Yeah, that at least, yeah, the phrase at least there's a test for it. Like, it's chopping off. It's only going to take the first character. It's not doing any other validation, but you could, I guess you could do whatever you wanted. I think you would want a system-wide way of thinking about stuff like that. Like, how does an individual view component set its rules? Or, I mean, yes, it does. But how does it manifest those? Like, how does it implement those rules? Does it raise exceptions? Does it try its best to just show nothing if nothing goes wrong? What should it actually do? So this is now the wrong test description. It only displays first character. That's upcased. Cased. That'll do. All right, cool. So that's a little diversion into the world of view component for a second, but that was fun. It's sort of UI related. We're sort of getting somewhere. All right, so that doesn't show if you have an avatar. So let's, I think we do want to show a cool little border. Let's do some CSS stuff. I don't think we did it on the original sketch, right? We just showed everything was gray. Oh, that was the same gray. That's pretty cool. What gray? I mean, it's cool as gray can be. So this is when we're then in here. Right, and this sort of goes back to something we discovered with these view components a little while ago, which is where you can, if you're then setting CSS like this, you don't want to hard code this, but you might have a set of global variables, which we do because we have one from Primer. Once again, I cannot remember how to get that list. Is it in... Do you actually have to go into Primer and get it? Doing this every week means I can never remember anything. Genuinely, let's actually go into here. I think I would probably keep like... I think I just ended up looking in the browser every time, right? Or index. Base index. Yeah, I think I just ended up looking in the browser every time. Got to find a better mechanism for that. So in here, there is somewhere, somehow. Yeah, see, this isn't tenable. Like, there's 4 billion colors here. Like, look at all these gray. Color grayscale. Okay, so we want color grayscale 7. So what we can do in here, I think, is... I guess you would look to... I guess it doesn't really matter if you're following their naming strategy if it's in the component. Cool. Okay, so we now have... that's actually really dark. That's probably not what we want. There has to be a better mechanism for this. Because that is... not tenable to go hunting through here. This doesn't seem right at all. Sort of 4, I guess. I guess it doesn't really matter. You can just pick color. And I guess this is sort of like the tailwind of it all, where you sort of have to learn the API of the thing that you're using rather than... Although I guess you could still have your own set of variables. One. I actually quite like that. I always like them when they have little shadows as well. You then wouldn't pick that yellow, I guess, although you don't know what people are going to add in there. All right, so let's... fix this as well. And what we want to do, not have all of these as blue. So we're going to want to style our site nav stuff. Because I think this will affect both of these, right? Like these are all the same link. So do we just style links within the navbar, or do we assign these a class and ensure that they're used within those components? So what do I mean by that? So we could say... so this one we went with like a BEM syntax for the view component stuff. So this could be like site number, text, link, I don't know. And the color could be... And again, you'd probably want to have one of those grays, right? Probably a really dark one. Were they grey? Were they black? I actually don't know. I think they were just a dark grey. Okay, and then okay, so why would I take that approach rather than styling the default links? I'm not sure that I would. I think it would probably depend on what I thought was coming up for that site nav. Because we're just playing around, I have no idea. But by starting the default links, you're gonna help out future engineers by who are just adding tech links by not having to remember to add the class names. They'll be like, oh, why does this one look different? The only downside I could see is that if you wanted to add different styling to those links, you would then need to determine. Well, you would still just add a class for those ones. Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't do it this way. But I'm just going to keep going for now, just to sort of see if I still feel that way in a second. So for these two, see if this works. So these should go grey. Yep, okay. And then you can do the text decoration stuff if we want to. Yeah, let's do that for a second. And again, maybe this goes back to the kind of lack of UI design framework altogether, and that in reality you would want all of these decisions decided before you start. Like you would have either whoever was doing the design work could be like, hey, what color do links go? Like, what does a link look like in our text? Because we're doing this on the stream, we haven't had any of those conversations, but that would be something we would do as well. But in here, we're using SAS, but even then you don't really get. I guess it's slightly like clearer to do this, I assume. Is that not right? Oh. We could do. But we could make it change color. And you'd want to make sure you do your accessibility checks at this point and make sure it was like a good idea. And this would be, again, I don't know any of the colors because we have this ridiculous thing. I would just leave one of these tabs open all the time with the color palette on if this was the only mechanism I had to get it. There must be something in the docs, right? I'm not doing a design. Voila. Cool. Okay, here we go. So okay, this is actually really helpful. This is what I should have read before. I was just knocking it, but this is really helpful. I'm an engineer using primary ViewComponents, so I want the color system arguments. Text color one of. Okay, so I want color. I'm not quite sure what scale is then. What's color scale gray? Name, border color, color. What's accent? Like, how do I? I'll probably use something called system arguments. Oh, but I'm not right. But okay, so I'm not actually using those view components, right? I'm using my view component, and I just want the source. Okay, hang on. I think I picked the wrong one then. So I'm not using primary view component. No, I'm an idiot. I'm an engineer creating custom UI. So I'm using premises as color utilities. Okay, so I want these ones. Okay. Oh, so I actually do want to do them more like Tailwind. Interesting. Okay. So this one would be like color FG accent. But I want to set but I need to set it on hover. Yeah, okay. Again, I think this is stuff that you would do all up front. So presumably there is a corresponding, like, is that color FG? Or is that just the class name? Okay, that's not filtering those out, which is kind of annoying. Okay, I think maybe I shouldn't be using these ones. Ooh, these are cool. Green one, that would be cool. Let's check that works then. Yeah, again, I think this is sort of where the streaming side of things gets a bit hard to do, because I think you would actually want to spend a lot of time. Okay, they do go green. That's pretty cool. I actually really like that. Well, I actually don't like that. I would think it would be cool if they would, like, I just like that green. So then these ones won't have changed, right? Yeah, so because we have done these via a class, you would then need to go into component. Right, but it's actually the account navbar component that does its own work there. Okay, so that's where you probably would want some sort of, yeah, interesting. Do you want them styled the same, even though they're both, because they're technically totally different components? Interesting. So here you could actually give it, so you wouldn't want to use this because this would be specific to that view component. Oh shit, I've just seen it at the time. So that's specific to that view component. Yeah, okay. If you have a view component that nests other view components, should the styling for the children ever exist in the parent? Or should there be like an agnostic mechanism? And I guess that's sort of one of the problems that you're looking to solve with something like Tailwind, which is that as long as the classes are consistent, it doesn't matter because the CSS will be generated outside of that process. Whereas with this, we actually are saying there is either site-wide default CSS or there is per component CSS. And we now have a child that wants to be styled like its parent, or an aspect of it, I want to style it like its parent. So where would that CSS live? Or is it that the CSS variables are the thing, and actually if it's like a text thing, the size, color, and behavior of the text should just come in via variables? Or do you use something like a Sass mix-in to get consistent behavior? These are all options, I think. And I bet the pain points of these happen at different scale. Like if you're working on a components across team, because I always sort of bump into the same thing when I'm thinking of it just doing it on a class level, which is that you still have the same problem. Like you still have to keep the classes in sync across components. The only difference being, no, you still have to keep them in sync. Okay. So I've got some text styled here on the navbar component. I then have a child component here, and I want that text to look like that text. No particular reason, just because we're doing the UI stuff. So this is the navbar component.scss is the parent. This is the text in here. In this dropdown. So we could add in here. Text link, and then inside the component itself, you could say just because the font is large, I'm just wrapping that. And these would be the wrong ones. This would be all right. Well, I mean, these are possibly an argument as to why you wouldn't do it this way. Although looking at those primer ones, they get pretty long, so maybe that's fine. Because I've just got the name of the component and then the name of the variable after it, so they're always going to get long. So are these now going to look the same but be styled separately? Okay, so they're now the same, but styled separately. That feels like not an ideal scenario, because I would assume, does it? Because I would sort of assume if I was working here, actually maybe it's not. Like, are these anything to do with these other ones? Or maybe we would create an additional set of variables called, yeah, maybe you would try and solve this with variables if that was your mechanism. Guys, I'm just realized we're approaching an hour and a half, so I'm gonna have to sort of knock off in a minute. I'm just really aware we didn't really polish anything. It looks slightly better than it did. The other thing I wanted to get to was, hang on, let's do these pretty quickly. Hang on a second, let's do some stuff. Where's the little border line that's coming between these? Border top on the bottom of the list items. Here, okay. So that can become, that's going to become grade 3 just arbitrarily. So we can swap that out. Yeah, I don't know how sustainable any of this code is going to end up being. maybe it's even lighter than that. So even that looks slightly more polished. But where I really wanted to get to was here, and work out sort of the similar conversation. So when you go to, I think, was it the actual ticket pages? None of these actually have any events. I think they do. But if you go to make a new event, yeah, I think here we had the, oh no, it was on the previous one. Here we're using the CSS grid API, aren't we? When you have an image associated. So what does it look like to get to column layout here? But I think it might be a flex box. I guess it depends on what you want to do with these. So what do I mean by that? What am I talking about? Let's go back 10 steps. So everything up here, slightly nicer looking, maybe, question mark. Not really. But we want to have, like, how does this know, it must be a container around that, right? Like, how does it know to not extend past that point? Is there a max width somewhere? It's not on that component. Is it in the layout? How does that logo not know to go? How does it know not to go all the way to the left? Is where I'm trying to ask. There's some constraint somewhere here. That constraint is here on the content container. Okay, so there's presumably a max width variable or something like that. So we could then have a component that represents a page. Is this a component? I guess it is. And it represents a page with a column on the left and the rest of the content on the right. And it would be a layout component, right? Okay, so this would be... So we've got single column layout component, and this would be sidebar. I don't think it matters that it's a full page or not, so let's see what this does. And these are inside layout. Okay, so this is sidebar layout component. And then you would have the HTML content, and then the SAS for it. Okay, so we've got three things. So this is all sidebar layout. I think maybe it would be page layout. Let's just do sidebar layout because yeah, we can keep that for a second. So in here, this can all go because we don't know anything about anything. Sidebar layout. And we'll just give it an outline so we can check that something's working. So we'll say, let's make this like, it's not quite, Like a purple would be fine. So now we just want to check this works. So on that page, which is our, that's actually our users layout, isn't it? On our views, layouts, users. Got that navbar component, but we want to wrap all of this stuff. So we want to gonna render a new component, and it's going to be called layout, and it's going to be called sidebar layout component. I'm not sure we need the word layout in there all the time, but whatever. And we don't have any arguments for it yet. So that's it. So I think we should get a pink, sorry, a purple box. Let's do a purple line. We do get something sidebar layout. But we haven't added the sidebar layout SAS file. Okay. Oh, did I? A component. Sorry, I missed component off the end. Oh, look, these ones don't have component, but they should do. Okay, that's why I was. I think that's the standard. I think they're supposed to all say component on the end. You're supposed to spell it correctly. Component. Okay, cool. So there's our purple line. Which is in the wrong place because we want it below the navbar component, so we want it here. And we want to have everything in it. Oh, okay. So this is where we want two sets of things, right? We want so where am I going with this? So within our component, we want to have two things come out. So this is the sidebar. I'm just making this up. And then this one would be like the content container, I guess. So this one would be like small and narrow and go down the left. And then the other one would go down the right. So let's give these outlines so we can just see that they have color as well. So this one will make green. And then the other one is the content container, but let's copy it just in case there's a typo in it. This one can be orange red. So we have content, but I don't think that's the right thing. So this one should say sidebar, and this one should say, which is content. So we should see these on the page somewhere. Great, so sidebar and content. And we actually want to say that this is display flex and past a certain viewport. I'm just going to grab a media query from somewhere because we don't have a set of like built-in helpers, I don't think. This one will do. There's no like checks for screens and stuff like that. We're going to say that this should switch to a row layout. The sidebar will be on the left and content will be on the right. Okay, and then we can say that this one So content goes all the way across. So there's a little sidebar on the left and the content on the right. Looks rough, but we don't really care about that right now. What we want to know is there is a mechanism. Just move that below the other one. Yep. So there's a sidebar. That's going to be this bit, the content. So in view components, so in Rails view components, there is a way of doing this. Is this this? Oh, I can't remember the name of the sort of the name of the how-to guide. I think slots is what I'm looking for. Maybe it's templates. All the questions I was asking earlier about styling might totally be answered in here as well. Consistently forget to go and read the docs. I'm looking for stuff like this. I think slots is what I'm looking for. Okay, so I think I want renders one sidebar. And then I want renders one, then I just want content, right? Like, will it still, if I've provided one slot, will everything? So that restriction. Okay, so how do I then pass? With post with header. Component with header do. There is, by saying with header, is that the header part? Okay, so I'm sort of going to take this example. So I've told it we want to give it a sidebar. Then how do you actually define a slot that we rendered at most once per component? Great. So block component has one header. It's just called header. Okay, great. So in my here, I want to say sidebar. Okay, cool. So then in my actual page, I'm going to do, and I'm going to say C because that's the component. And I'm going to end. I'm going to end that. Okay. So here, I think that this is this. I don't know where the with comes from. And is that all of this? Oh, did I miss a div off? Wait, which part's which? Oh, I think it's just this. Okay. Wait, hang on. Wait. Oh, I still missed it. It's just this. Okay, right. Sorry, I kept missing that. So now it really is this one. Great. Okay, so then this all gets nested by one. So I think that this should get rendered out for the content for sidebar. And then can I pass this in as everything else? Is that then content? Or do I have to explicitly somehow say that? Let's see what happens here. Okay, great. That totally worked. Amazing. So this is sort of where I wanted to get to. So then we could say, I don't know what that's doing there. That's random. This would obviously become a component of itself. Like that would be some sort of menu, sidebar, layout, menu, something. And somewhere we would need to decide where to do that. But what you can then do here in sidebar layout is presumably say, but presumably there would be a page container one, which would be like max width, like 1180. It was. Does this do anything? Great. Okay, cool. So we now have this idea of, and we can take out the word sidebar content because we already have those. So cool. So now we actually have a layout that will work around all these pages. And I just signed out because sign out now works. We could make that look different. All right, so we now have more of these layout-based components, which are working pretty well, I think. And you can kind of see the speed that they buy you, because then this is just password, isn't it? So then anywhere we need to have a page that has this sidebar layout, we could have the width of the sidebar, or you could have a bunch of CSS rules passed in as the argument for the view component, and everything will sort of just work. And maybe this would be CSS grid so that you could do that cool padding thing. Although I think this you could just sort of assign that padding on the left-hand side. All right. Okay. Amazing. That is us for time. This was really fun. I don't know what we did. We just talked about view component a bit, talked about testing view components, talked about becoming a new Ruby engineer. So good luck to the person who was in the Twitch chat. And we added a sign out link. We added some styling. We added a logo. And it looks a little tidier than it did. It doesn't look a whole bunch tidier, but it's better than nothing, and we can kind of go from there. So I made a note about dark mode. I want to take a look at that. And the thing I really want to get to, the thing like I do like messing around in view component, but the thing I really want to get to over the next couple of streams is turbo. Back to turbo. And I want to get to where's the layout? It's this one. I want to get to the layout. I want to get to kind of the part, the reason we picked this domain model is this part here. I want to have group registering, and I want to have this thing on the left being updated when you fill in the details of the attendees. And as you kind of scroll through them, I want to have this updated. But I want to use turbo and like action cable and all that fun stuff. So I want to do a planning session. Maybe that's next week's session, because I don't know. I feel like to answer a lot of these view component questions, we'd actually have to sit down and really have a good session on what this looks like, and that's not that fun. Like I'm not really like, this application is just a kind of demo. So all of that diligent stuff we would do up front is like, that's the stuff you do at work. That's like the proper stuff. And we're not getting paid for that here. So let's play around with turbo instead, because it's more fun. All right, so maybe we'll do a planning session as to how we're going to model multiple attendees per, what do we call it, per order. Let's give that a try next week. Thank you so much for people who dropped in the chat and said hello, and have a lovely week. See everyone next Sunday, 10:30 a.m. UK time. Have a good week. Bye-bye.